The views expressed by our guests in the following video are solely the opinions of our guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and or opinions of the Ola 7 podcast show. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Spotlight with Yvonne Mangunda here on the Ola 7 podcast platform. Very excited to be back again, and it is ZIFA election season. And like you've seen, we've already hosted two presidential candidates, and last week we had Masha Gore. This week we've got a man who is no stranger to Zimbabwean sport because he owns a football club. He is the Premier Soccer League chairman and is also a member of parliament. I am talking about the owner of Caps United. We're talking about Farai Jere. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Yvonne.
It's very weird for me because we've never had a sit-down interview like this. Usually meet go stadium and all that, but we want to get to know the man Farai Jere before we go into what you're promising Zimbabwe if you are elected as ZIFA president. Where was Farai Jere born? What schools did you go to? When was it?
Right. My name is Farai Jere. Some people out there, they know me as Timbo as well. I was born in 1973 on the 25th of December in St. Mary's, Chitungwiza. I went to Chambinuka Primary School and then I did my secondary education at Sengeza 2 High. That's why I did my O-levels, I did my A-levels, I went to university. I'm a holder of a first-class degree in accounting, and I've got a master's degree in strategic leadership. I'm a registered PhD student, Doctor of Philosophy. That's what I'm working on right now.
We're already getting deep into it, huh? 5 O-levels, Zivo. Because if you're wondering why I'm asking that, because recently ZIFA amended and ensured that if you want to be a ZIFA president candidate, you have to have 5 O-levels. So there was a lot of talk about 5 O-levels, not 5 O-levels. But when did your football involvement start? Were you a player growing up? And if you did, when did you play football? What was it?
Yes. Even from my background, I'm a ghetto boy. We used to play football in the streets of St. Mary's. And then I went to school. I was playing football at school, primary level. But during that time, if you were a brilliant student in school, parents were discouraging you to do football. But I happened by that time to be in the same class with Stuart Murisa at Zengeza 2 High. He was my classmate. And of course, Godfrey Rupia, the father of this young Rupia, we were all playing football from primary school. But some of us were to drop and concentrate on school, during that time. Our captain during that time is someone who was the director for Standards Association of Zimbabwe, Sebastian Zuze. But he had also to drop, but I'm telling you of a captain at that time, to drop to concentrate on education. Because, we wrote Cambridge, that shows you that we've come of age. It's a long time back. So this is the background. I played football, but at that stage. So I started loving football long back. So when we were at school, we then watched our peers, our friends, the Stuart Murisas, Trailblazing, Alois Bunjira. By that time, we actually same stream. Alois Bunjira was at Zengeza 1 High, the Mtenji brothers, Lloyd and Norman Mapeza, they were at Sege 2 High. You can actually see the talent which was in Chitungwiza during that time. So even the inter-school competitions, when to grow up in it, it was our life. It was our daily bread that we were playing soccer after school, we were playing soccer at school, we were watching a football at that level. And during that time, we knew the Sunday Jambas. They used to come, Wislo Grabowski to Zengiza too high, watching these boys playing football because there was really talent in Chitungwiza during that time. So that crop is the one which we are all talking of today. They did very well in their career. The steward, they all went to Marisa Brothers. There's a team which was called Marisa Brothers, which they all played for from Chitungwiza. And then they were spotted by Wislo Grabowski. They went to Daring T. It was a talent. It was a generation of talent by that time. And if you look, that is the time the Peter and Love and the Signature, the Jongo, the Ngodzo brothers were also mesmerizing, illuminating our stadiums in Bulawayo. So it was like a crop or a generation of talent, which was like that. So that is the time we grew up. So it's not all of us who went to that level because of the reasons which I told you. But then my club, I want to correct this. It was Cape United. From that time, even the guys I grew up with in Chitungwiza, they tell you that I used to support Cape United through and through. So when I started working in 2004 as a supporter, before I get into mainstream football, I started sponsoring 6 players from Cape United. One of them was Lloyd Gitembwe, Sifas Chimeda, Energy Mrambaduro. They were on my payroll. The passion as a supporter, I'm having these players getting paid on my payroll. That's why those results which were coming in, but there was a lot of support from some of us. David Sengu, I even bought him a car during that time. It was a Boxan and it was an in thing. So this history needs to be known. I'm very happy with where you are starting your interview from. We didn't just come from Norway. And these guys are still alive. They know what I'm talking about. It's not a story which is going to be distorted by history because someone is not there. They are there. They know that. Boz was the captain of the team which won the league in 2004. I bought him a car. So this is the history. So when Mr. Piri heard about this supporter, who was the number 1 supporter for Cape United, because I don't think there's anyone who did that. I'm also dispelling the notion that we support football and these guys are coming in. I was the number 1 supporter by then. He looked for me and he said, no, can we work together? So towards the end of 2004, that's when I came in and Willard Manyingawana was the manager of the team, and I was there, but I didn't have a defined role to say, no, this is the position which this guy is playing. Then the rest is history. I became a 25% shareholder along the way, 40%.
By history, because I want to hear from you. Obviously, I've had a conversation with Twine Piri and he gave his own version of the relation between you and him. But a lot of people speculate to say, did you bulldoze your way to those shares? What exactly happened?
Let me answer you in simpler terms. I started working with Twine Piri, Mr. Piri, in 2004, and I only became a majority shareholder in 2015. The term bulldozing is something which one does before someone even thinks about what they want to do and what have you, something which happens with a speed, lightning, and confusion in it. How can you talk of that for such a long period of time? From 2004 to 2015. That's a long period, it's a lifetime, eh?
So what led to that? What led to you getting those shares? Were they shares that were just on offer? What was the process getting to a point where, Farai Jere, you say, I have these shares in Cape United?
Pure business transaction. You see, we are working very well. I can see your passion for football. I'm going to release 20% to you, 25% first. And then I paid for them. So it was a business transaction, willing seller, willing buyer. That exactly was the spirit. So what people, all those are speculations, and how can you bulldoze a man like Mr. Piri? It's not as soft as you see him, eh? You just walk in and take his shares and go off, and doing that for such a long period of time. No, it's not correct information. So it was a business transaction, which was agreed, and you can see the progression, which means there's willingness. I started with 25%, bulldozing again, I get 40%. I bulldoze again, I get 60%. I keep on bulldozing. No, it's not correct. So people should always get their facts correct before they go out there. We had a very good working relationship even today with Mr. Piri. And some of the things which I applied to Caps United, I learned from him. And it was a legacy things. He's a very good man. So we did our business in the way which he detected the terms. That's why it had to happen progressively and for a long period of time like that.
He spoke very, very well about you in the previous interview and the relationship that you guys have up until today, because he said he's able to pick up the phone and say, Farai, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Is that correct information that we got from him? Are you still open to ideas coming from someone who is a former owner of the club that you own now?
This is basically what I've said. Remember, I said we've got a very good relationship with Mr. Piri, even up to now. So we are good. We talk. He comes to my house. He comes to my office. We always visit. We always talk. When he comes to my office, we can even go up to 1-2 hours talking, discussing, even going for lunch. So this is the relationship which is there. So it's a very clear testimony that our relationship was very good. That actually also speaks how the Caps United shares were now exchanging hands over a period of time. That it was a clear understanding. And if after becoming the major shareholder at Caps United with 60%, which I hold right now, and Mr. Tudisan holds 40%, he came to my office and gave me an advice that, I'm doing this on merit. I know Caps United is going to be in safe hands because of the way, the passion which you have for football. If it was anyone else, I wouldn't have sold these shares. But what I know is it has taken me time to study you to see that this club, as long as you are there, it's in the safe hands and it's going to go to another level. And that's the relationship which we have.
And you are a man, like you said, grew up in Seke, doing all that. Because the obvious question would be, what business were you in to be able to get to a point where you're able to buy a club as big as Caps United?
I started very small, from humble beginnings. The thing called success is an accumulation of small successes. That's why I didn't do it the first time. I started working, I started running my own businesses. I started running my company in 2002, which is still in existence. And I'm talking of 2004. I came in as a team manager. I got my first 25% in Caps United some 4 years later. That tells you about the growth of the business and the way I was doing my things. It was not a one-day achievement. It was a lot of small successes which then accumulated to become a success story. So this is how I grew up. This is how I ended up buying these shares. Some people might not know that getting the 25%, it was an offer, but the offer was huge. Mr. Piri, you wanted me to be a 40% shareholder by then. So I didn't have enough money to buy that because we still had a role to play in the club. So it was an accumulation, slowly building it up. So that is what exactly happened. Up to until now, I'm a majority shareholder and president of the team.
And owning Caps United, you are, can I term you an open leader? Because you meet the fans, you go to fans meetings, and this is something that I find puzzling, because I would think if you're an owner of a club and you have majority shares and you have the vision for the club, why do you feel the need to be accountable to the fans through their representatives and their chapters?
Thank you so much, Yvonne. And I'm happy that we've been observing that. These are informed by a very simple flat structure which we have. These are organizational structures which we have at Caps United. And I also borrowed it from Mr. Piri, something which I got in there as a culture. And I liked the culture. The whole idea is ownership is not absolute. I don't own Caps United 100%, as you see in the papers. Those are key stakeholders. They've got ownership in the team. I'm just on top there, running things, directing things. But those fans are the owners of the team. That's why I find every year we meet them twice. We want to pick their ideas. A change in modern management, a change in modern leadership. You don't tell people what you want to do for them, but they tell you what they want you to do, and you just give guidance. So the whole idea is we'll be picking the ideas. I want to tell you how we bought Junior Bujira. It was through these interactions with the supporters. I want you to see their value. I'm very busy. I've got other things which I'm doing. This morning I wake up, we are in a group with supporters, and they were talking about, guys, how do we let young Bujira go and sign for Dynamos? That night, I drove my car to Chitungwiza to talk to Alois Bunjira and young Bunjira that no, we want the legacy of your father to continue at Caps United. And Alois Bunjira said, no, President, whatever you say, he has to go because my hands are tied. I would also want my legacy to live on at Caps United. But the boy was supposed to sign the following day. So we signed this boy who is now a talk of the moment through the interaction with these fans. They've got brilliant ideas. They've got great ideas. They own this team. It's their team. Because all of us one day we're going to leave it, but the fans will live forever. They will always be there for their team. It's a practice which I also see happening in Europe. I remember when my beloved team Arsenal was doing badly at some point. The fans spoke to the owners of the club to say, no, we want to buy this player. We don't want Thierry only to leave the club. Fans should always have a say in a club like Caps United. So basically, that is the reason why we interact with them. We pick up their ideas where we have gone wrong, and they also even suggested some good players who are playing out there because they own the team. It is their team. It's their product.
It's their product. It's their team. But there's also the downside. Because with that comes also fans thinking they're so powerful they can dictate things. Aren't there incidences where you look at something, you're like, you've crossed the line?
No, Yvonne. That now depends with the leader. That depends with the leader. It speaks volumes of the leaders. You don't take everything. Even in our meetings, we are very open with the fans that, no, we are going to listen to you and hear what you are going to say. But it's not everything that you are going to say that is going to be implemented. That should be normal, even in an organization. We go for those workshops. You let your subordinates, who I can say the workers, they come up with their ideas on how they expect the organization to move the direction. But it's not everything that you implement which comes from those people. So at times, this issue of power should result in a movement or a change of direction in anything. But that has never happened at Caps United, which means it will be an assumption that if one supporter is very vocal, they are controlling the club. No, that has never happened. The control and the responsibility remains mine as the president of the team to take a certain direction. Like the one which I'm telling you about with Bunjira, it's one typical. It was a very good idea, and we had to take it. And look at how the boy is performing. He fitted in very well into the system, and he's now a hero of the team, and our fans are saying, no, let's build around him. Let's allow our fans to have their voices. Some are vocal, some they speak nice, some they come to your inbox, some they even go to the groups. So it's a community, it's a society, so we should expect people with different characteristics. But we cannot then describe that as a supporter power. No. It could be different in character or the way people present their things, present their facts. So it's up to the leader to say, no, I'm going to take this. It's a very good idea. I'm going to take this, and this one I'm going to leave. So if you then take everything, you are not a good leader.
And talking about the last couple of years, how do you deal with issues when people start talking about Caps Akunamari? Is Jere running out of money? Does he still have the money to run Caps United?
I think I need to correct a lot of people. There are two things. I've been running Caps United, and what I've put in Caps United, it's up to people to then calculate backwards every year, right? So there are issues of what are called cash flows. I know some people, they don't understand them. If you run a business, you are not stealing money. So you can have what are called cash flow gaps in business. Because if we are broke, who would be around? I think you have seen the stability this year. I don't know why people are not talking about it. No one is talking about money in this economic environment. But you'll not be surprised to hear that there's a 1 or 2 months delay in payment of salaries. It's happening with every company. It's happening with every organization, even the most stable organizations. Those things are called cash flow issues. It's not being broke. We don't have stashes of money every day. We run businesses. So at times you take money to put it where it's supposed to grow, and then it creates a cash flow problem. So that cash flow problem may even cause problems in the whole system, right? Which means your players are going to be affected. Even your workers may also delay paid. You can even delay paying your salaries for your workers as a deliberate move because you want to unlock value somewhere. So these things are understood by people in business. They will tell you the issues of cash flows. If you run proper business, there's an issue of cash flows which needs to be managed very well. So it's not being broke. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. Broke people, they've since left Harare. They are already staying in the rural homes. They'll be looking at Harare and saying, no, I once been there. But we are still there within the trenches. We are still running. You can go for 2 or 3 days without money in my pocket, right? But it doesn't mean that I'm broke. But you'll be looking at a 10 million transaction or what have you. But that's not cash, but it's there. So people should understand how businesses are run.
And when we talk about that, football in Zimbabwe is not that high paying. When we look at what you put in vis-a-vis what you win, even if you were to win all the titles at hand during the year, what keeps you going? What motivates you to keep putting your money?
That is what is going to define the difference between me being a ZIFA president and all the other candidates. That should actually be defined and viewed by people as a passion for football. That actually should make our people respect those who are putting money in football. And maybe that our fans know that there's no return, but there are people who are still putting money. Football is so addictive, like smokers of cigarettes, like the drug addict. All those who are putting money in football, they love. Actually, I would like to urge our people to respect the people who are putting money in football. It's very sad that I've heard other people saying that, you know what, our football, nothing was happening to our football, not respecting those heroes who are making the wheels of our football, of Premier Soccer League, Division 1 football, turning. That should be taken as a foundation. It shows that someone doesn't have clue or knowledge of the problems which we have in our football. So maybe that's where this conversation is going to take us. A chicken in, they are putting money in there, no return, they need to be respected. Blawa Chiefs, my brother, they need to be respected for what they are doing to our football. And I'm happy that people are saying there's no money. So those people are our heroes. They need to be respected. Who are like myself, we're sitting here. We have got individuals who are putting money. Those who are coming in now, they can tell you, my brother Simbandoro, they can tell you that, yes, there's no return. But instead of us insulting them, we should respect them to say, no, guys, for the happiness which you are enjoying, watching football week in, week out, there are men who are sacrificing their wealth to put into football, to improve the lives of these players, to improve the lives of a lot of other people. So at times, I look at people insulting them at groups. You can see that these people, they don't have direction. And more so, for an aspiring candidate to speak badly about people who are putting their money in football when they really want to come and make money in football, it's very unfair.
So we're in that vein because we're going to go through your PSL and then your ZIFA presidency. So would we say this is what makes you unique on the list of the candidates, to say you can be able to say, I don't have to prove that I love the sport. I am already doing it. I've been putting my money into this sport for years.
Oh, absolutely. That would make the difference. But the bigger difference, I've heard people talking about issues of integrity and what have you. This is not the level we talk about those things. But those things is what is expected of you to hold that office. So there's nothing special about issues of it. It's expected. If you don't have it, you don't need to be there. What is the point of difference? Which is what you're talking about. It is that I'm in the mainstream of football. I know the plight of our people. In my last manifesto as PSO chairman, I was also pushing for a good relationship between the ZIFA and the Premier Soccer League teams and the Division 1 teams. So I'm now aspiring to get to that position as the president. And I know the problems which are being faced by these people who are in the Premier Soccer League. So that's a point of difference. The other, there are so many point of differences why I've from the other candidates. Being in the mainstream football since 2004 up to date, I'm now the president of a club who also sat on the previous ZIFA board. I know exactly where the problems are. I know where our football problems are. Because coming in from outside, you don't know the problems which our football is facing. It's like someone shooting in the dark. We end up doing the things which were done well. That's why in my yesterday interview, let me repeat this. I started giving a tribute to my predecessors who built the foundation where we are going to build our football going forward. The good things which were done by Dr. Philip Shangwa, the previous Rafiki Kanis and whatever, for us to be where we are. Dr. Nyatanga was also one of the ZIFA presidents, and also Felton Kamambo, the good things which he did. Because if you're a leader, you should be able to then see the good things that have been done by your predecessor, so that you concentrate on where it itches. You concentrate on where the problem is. By so doing, it shows that you've done a research. You know where you want to get into. It will be no longer uncharted territory. It's a familiar territory which we'll be getting into, right?
But on the flip side,
yes,
one might argue that if you've been there, done that, sometimes maybe you need fresh ideas. Maybe you need people with a different line of thought. Like you're saying, you've been there in the board. It could be an argument against the same thing that you're saying is an advantage.
No. It shouldn't be. That's where the problem is. Remember, when you're in a board, when you're in a board or when you're in a leadership position, you should know that the responsibility lies with the boss, right? Who will be the ZIFA president by then? Who is the PSO chairman? To answer you, let me take you back to what is happening at PSO. I think you are quite familiar with what things which are happening at Premier Soccer League. I'm accountable, but I'm not the one who do a lot of those things. I give direction, right? For the first time, we bought our inaugural piece of land. PSO, since its formation, they never had an asset. The Premier Soccer League. But I'm saying, I want you to quote me right. I'm saying, I bought 1.4 hectares of land, which we are unveiling on the 19th of December. I'm as the chairman of the board. But I haven't been to that piece of land because I've got a team of people who are doing it. Right? If anything goes wrong, those people, they move aside, and it will be the chairman of the board. Please, can you explain to us how did you do this transaction? There was the due diligence done and what have you. It's not even one of those people who are going to be asked it. It's like you're in a bus, we've got a driver. If the driver is over speeding, you can only shout, but he can decide to turn left or right. It's not all of us who will be on the steering wheel. So that's not an argument. That's not an argument to say you have been. It's actually an advantage because I now know the problems. That's why I'm sitting here to say I want to take that position. So you can only take that position by also giving credit to the good things which were done by your predecessor. It's very, very important. And then the next question is, of course, then if this, so where did you go wrong? We are now starting to correct things which went wrong. I think in our previous board, this is where we messed it up, this is where this was messed up, this way, and we need to correct these issues now going forward. So that cannot be used against me. And more so, it is very clear the position of everyone. I was coming from the Premier Soccer League, sitting in that board, and of course Barbara Jikosi was coming in from the women football, sitting in that board, and our positions were very clear. This is board member Premier Soccer League, board member women football. So yes, but obviously when you sit in that board, you'll be looking at the entire football ecosystem, right? So that cannot be used against us, because remember, there's a driver. That is what is very critical. That's why I find there are so many organizations where you have seen the head coach being fired, but the assistant coach comes and gives results. So that one is not an excuse.
So let's move to a sport where you are a driver.
Yes.
You're a driver in the Premier Soccer
Yes,
League as the chairman.
Yes.
Are you happy with the state of our football right now? Are there things that you think maybe we could do better, or this is what we are working towards? If you're not, that is if you're not happy with the position we're in right now.
Yvonne, what I can tell you is there's always a room for improvement on every system until you die. Even in our own homes, we have to improve certain things. That's why we've got a leader. You have got your finance director being the wife there. You are there. You need to keep on improving systems in that house until all of you die. So there's no one who's going to come and say, no, I've got a solid system. Especially now where there are other environmental dynamisms, things are changing every day. Today you have got this system, tomorrow it's already outdated. Today you have got a degree, tomorrow you're uneducated. So you need to keep on learning. So on the issue of systems, we need to keep on improving. But what I want to tell you is, we have done very well, and I've done very well as the Premier Soccer League chairman. We have done extremely well. Making football played during the COVID period, that's not easy. The Premier Soccer League. And I'm going to tell you some of the results very soon. Making football played in this country during the FIFA ban. What else do you want? Keeping the same sponsors happy. Bringing stability. A lot of stability in that board. I'm talking of a board where you've got directors, professors, people very educated, and you're sitting in there to make things happen, to make things work for our football. Right? Purchasing the first asset for the league. We're moving in the right direction. And who can question that to be that people were not doing anything? The first asset for the Premier Soccer League since its formation, it was bought by this board, by this group, during my time. Right? So we have done very well. Right? Our country was banned from playing international football, right? For 2 years. We come out of that ban. I've got 5 players who are from the local Premier Soccer League who are commanding the first jersey. What does that tell you? And you qualify with the game in hand. What does that tell you about the leadership at Premier Soccer League? What does that tell you about the business which we were doing during the ban?
But I understand, fair and fine on that business.
We're able to keep the wheels of our football turning, running, and after the ban, we could have your Murwira in the first 11. We are not talking. I'm talking about more than 5 players from the Premier League. You have got your Kama Billiat in the first 11.
Can I interject?
Yes, you have got your Otam Sona in the first 11.
Can I interject and say,
yes,
when I listen to it,
yes,
aren't those the basics you're supposed to do? If you're a Premier Soccer League chairman, the wheels have to keep turning. The game has to continue to be played, no matter what the conditions are.
Yes. So if you manage to achieve that, it's an achievement.
Is it not a... you were saying the exact same thing about there's certain things that are just like, this is what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. But we are now talking of an environment where there's COVID. We are talking of an environment. We are not talking of the normal environment. We are talking of an environment where football is banned, and we are not getting any assistance. Remember, there are some assistances for these clubs which are supposed to come from FIFA, if you're not aware. But we said, no, guys, let's keep on playing football. Let's fund the whole system. And the quality of our football, what we are talking of speaks to the quality of our football. It's the Premier Soccer League, which is able to churn more than 5-6 players after you're coming from a ban. And out of those, you've got 4 players who are playing in the first 11, where the foreign players are coming. That speaks to the quality of the league. So maybe, I don't know where the angle which are coming from, that this is what I'm supposed to play. Yes, we've got also other leagues which we're playing, but they failed to qualify. So which means what I'm talking of here is the quality of the league. Our Premier Soccer League, the quality is very, very high. That's why we could have 4 or 5 players in the first 11 and we qualified with a game in hand.
But then we speak to Chan. Chan is what we can use as a gauge for the leagues. And we didn't do well in the qualifiers, for the Chan qualifiers, because this is a tournament specifically for locally based players. Yes, fair and fine, you're doing well having these players in the full strength Warriors. But let's look at Chan. How do we get our league into a position where we are able to also compete on this platform specifically for locally based players?
Now, let me tell you, that now depends with the selectors of the national team.
So, Mr. Jere, it's an election season. You want to be the ZIFA president. How are you approaching your campaign? Who would you say are your most important stakeholders in this campaign?
What is important is when you're getting into something like this, an election, you need to know who are going to vote for you. And those people, they are very important. You need to visit them and sell your ideas as to how you want to take your football to the next level, and how do you then want to implement whatever you want to promise them. So that electorate is very, very critical. And they are there. They are about, we are 78 of us. I'm also one of them. I'm also going to vote. So you just need to visit them. We have been having our campaigns, our first ones, which I want to call not really campaigns, but our feelers of their expectations, to share with them what are they expecting from the ZIFA president, to also input into the manifesto, which is ready now. My manifesto is ready, which I'm also going to call our working document, because that is what people are going to tick to say whether we've achieved what we are promising, because we know what we want, so we are putting them in that document. So it's going to be a comprehensive document which we are going to use. And these things, they've come from those councillors and the governors who are going to vote for us. So we have had trips. I went to Southern Region. I met all the councillors. I sold to them what I promised for football. Northern Region, Central and Eastern, I did the same. So we have already started engaging them and selling our ideas to them, what we expect to do and what are their expectations if we get into office. So I find most of them, they were more interactive. It was more of selling yourself to them and saying, no, please tell us, let's discuss, what are your expectations?
But was it easy for you, because you're coming in already, you've got a name? Do you think it was easy for you to sell what you were selling, the ideas you're putting on the ground? Was it received? Were they skeptic? How do you gauge?
I was received very well. This is what I want to say. There are some areas which are very, very difficult to get, but I could get feedbacks. You know, when you go and present yourself to people, it's like you're getting in an interview. Then some brave people will come to your inbox and give you the results of the interview. When you're talking of football, the results which are here, Mr. Jere, you're the right candidate. What you were selling to us is exactly where our problems were in football, and you know exactly where our problems, and we were very happy. All those feedbacks were coming from some areas where one wouldn't expect such a feedback, to say, no, when you came here, yeah.
Would you say you've had the experience because you're a member of parliament? You've done this on the political side. What are the aspects of your political campaign are you taking in to this ZIFA campaign?
No, thank you. It's a very, very important question. A campaign is a campaign. It's the same. You need to respect your electorate. I'm hearing that some candidates are shouting at them, you guys are corrupt and whatever. You don't do that to people who are supposed to vote for you. You need to respect your electorate. The same thing which you do to our people in our constituencies. But these are the ones who are going to give you the job to represent the entire country. Whether we like it or not, but those are the guys who are going to vote. It's not triggering happy, wanting to make people happy out there to say, no, he talks, he do this and that. No, you need to respect the electorate. Especially now, there's something which I discovered. These guys, they now have a feeling that we have been blamed for the failure of our football because of the voting which we're doing, and they want to do it right. You could feel it when you're interacting with them, when you are then sharing, when they're giving you their ideas. Some of the things which I'm talking about, which are exciting our people, I picked them from these councillors. Look at our areas. We don't have offices. We are so marginalized, especially Eastern and Central region. And you say, oh, okay, it's a point when you are talking there. And you say, no, but this one, it will be low-hanging fruit. It's a quick win. When we get in there, we can have, why can't we have offices in the Central and Eastern region? These were coming out from those councillors. It's very easy for us then to go down to the area zones and to make sure that we bring back our football. But we are not able to go down there because we don't have the tools to use to go down there. So these are the issues which we're discussing, which we're sharing with them. But these meetings were even going to up to 3 hours because they were quite interactive. So they were even admitting that, we've been blamed for a long time for the failure of our football. And at this time, we feel it's the time to make it right. We want to make it right. We need the right candidate for the ZIFA position at the moment. But these are our expectations as well. So it's not about you selling your ideas, because it's about them telling you what they expect, because they've got experience, these guys.
It's very it's enlightening to me. Because with elections, there's always this talk that you just got there, you find the people that there's been a lot of talk about money exchanging hands. You spoke about respecting and listening to the people that are supposed to vote for you. On the political side, we've seen politicians world over. There are certain incentives like you give to people that you're expecting to vote for you. What is the scenario when it comes to football?
You know what? It's a very sad thing about those guys. It's not correct. When we are arranging these meetings to meet these councillors, you put them in one place. Like I can tell you an example. Eastern region. I've got. I also come from the Eastern region by being an MP from Rewa West. We have got one governor who is supposed to come to Masvingo. This governor is coming from Nyamapanda, right? Those are the area zones. Nyamapanda down there. You bring that guy to Masvingo and you give them $20, $30 because you want to be seen as if you don't give people money. That's an insult. You need to cover these people, their allowances, just like what you do. It's best practice. It's called best practice. Just like what you do, if you send your workers out there, you need to pay them. But what is very important is to pay them, to put them in the position they were, or even a better off position a little bit before they leave their home. You don't want someone to go back home negative because they come to listen to you because they love football. It's unheard of. In every campaign, you have to compensate people for the out-of-pocket allowances, for the time which they've taken to be with you. It's a normal practice. And I'm happy that it was upheld by the courts on the Kamambo issue. There's nothing wrong with that. And if someone sees you now compensating these guys for his money to go back to Nyamapanda from Masvingo, they can go out there and say the councillors are being bribed. But those guys, I tell you, they've got their own resources. They've got their monies. I can tell you, for example, some names, lecturers at top universities who drive these top-of-the-range cars. They need fuel to go. You would have asked them to come and listen to you. It's you. They can stay at their homes and go and vote for whoever, even besides calling them. You call them for a meeting and you treat them like that. It's ruthlessness that they.
But then does it not then become an issue of only people that have money can contest for these positions? Because I'm trying to imagine, Yvonne, I want to contest. Will I then be able to fund this? Or are you saying, if you can't do it, stay away?
Yvonne, people have got different strategies If you cannot do that, you can get into your combi and visit them in their houses one by one. If you decide to bring them to a place, you know that you've got the resources to then compensate them their fuels for them to go back home. These guys, they don't have a prescribed way for them to be addressed. They just wait for you. It's not them who look for you. It's us who look for them. So when you look for them, you tell them that, you guys, look, I've arranged a place, a conference place where we are going to have our meeting, and this guy is at his house, he's in Nyamapanda, so I want you to come to Masvingo for us to meet. So if you realize that your resources are not enough, you get into your combi and go there to Nyamapanda and talk to that particular guy and sell your idea, or you may decide to ignore them and meet them at the ballot box. So it's a democratic space. No one is restricted. It's all about your strategy and what you want to do.
So, Mr. Jere, if somebody is watching this interview, what do you want them to, what do you want the takeaway to be when they think of Farai Jere as a presidential candidate and a possibility of the person to lead football in the next coming years?
Thank you, Yvonne. You know, a good leader, like what I said, they should always, when you're listening to a good leader, if you want to elect someone, they should be able to tell you the good things which were done by their predecessor. That way you can tell that they know where the gap is, which is what I'm demonstrating. You should always tell your people the gap, where the problem is. The foundation has always been laid. Of late, if you look at qualification for the Africa Cup of Nations, it's becoming like a perennial household. No, we just have to qualify when you get to that edition. And this has started from the time of Dr. Philip Changwa. He came in completing the term which was left by Dr. Cuthbert Dwe. He qualified in a short space of time. Kamambo came, qualified twice. Sam Tasa came, he qualified. So it's now in a short space of time, in a space of a period of, say, 10 years, within 10 years. But if you look at it, before this, it was in 2004 and then 2006, and we had a very big gap of not qualifying. So it's now becoming a household thing. It's now becoming a perennial. We just have to qualify. And the challenge now is for us to get in there and get into the group stage of the champions of this tournament when we get there. That is the challenge. Because qualification is no longer an issue, it's no longer a question, because the foundation was already set. So if you have an approach to say, it's like someone is shooting in the dark. Because there are good things which have been done by your chicken in, your Division 1 football, for football to be alive in this country. When you were not around, things were happening. There are men and women who kept the wheels of our football running. They should be acknowledged, and the works which they did, they should be accepted and acknowledged before we even take part. Gentlemen, after having done this and that, we still need to have our stakeholder management, decentralization of our football, the issue of, I'm going to be using the 3 R's, revive those other structures which are not operational, but they are there because the structures are already in the constitution. These are constitutional matters. We need to reignite some of them. So, and we need to revive some of them. So it's very important for people to then understand what this leader wants to do. So this is what we are looking at, especially the stakeholder management. We've got a good coach now. We've got this German coach who is around. We need to keep that man to continue with his job, because it's like the German football is our philosophy. Because remember, during time, Reinhard Fabisch, we were very happy with the brand of football, and we are seeing it again with News qualifying with a game to go. So those are the things which you look at. So if you don't see all those positives, you are likely to make a big mistake to our football, because you are saying everything is wrong, I'm going to dismantle everything. No. When it comes now to the office, we need to have very good administration. We have got already a good coaching staff, thanks to the NC Normalization Committee. They brought us a good coach. That's a plus. So what do we need to do now? We need a very good administrator in that office to come in, right, and work with the guys who are there, and we move forward. But that is another area which people underestimate, the issue of administration. You need a good administrator. Like at PSO, I had a very good administrator in Ken Indebele for me to get all these results.
It Caps as well, Morton.
Yes, it Caps United as well. Morton is doing a wonderful job. But the Premier Soccer League, I tell you, the solid guy, Kenny, very solid. He's not a pushover, just like his president. He knew that, this man here, you know what, people always tell you things in confidence. I don't know whether I'm betraying him or what. There's one reporter from Bulawayo who called me and said, but how are you working? with this man. He said, my 15 years at Premier Soccer League, the best manager, the best boss I worked with is Farai Jere. But remember, when we were campaigning for the Premier Soccer League position, he was campaigning for Mr. Matikinyit.
So you see, because I see Kenny is also in the race for the vice president. Now it's on time. Let's move on.
No. I was actually shocked to see his name, and when he called Moto, and he didn't even call me boss. He knows that my boss is not involved in things. He even called Moton looking for a signature, and Moton was calling me to say, Kenny wants to come in. That's when I heard about it. So you can actually see that systems, we use systems theory. Systems should work. He didn't even call me as his boss. He knew where to go. But if he had a problem, then he called me to say, no, I spoke to Moton and this and that. And that is the type of leadership. I always give people room to work. You cannot have dogs and start barking at the same time, which I saw in some leaderships whereby someone, we have a permanent office at ZIFA and yet you have got secretariat because we have got a CEO at ZIFA. So you should understand that those issues of corporate governance, what it means. If you have got a CEO, you have got a room to go and you have your coffee with Gerald Mlochwa, you have time with the Minister of Sports, discussing the issues, stakeholder management, having time to have calls with CAF, and all the debt-work administrative issues will be done by the people in the office, not yourself. You don't need to be seen signing letters, writing letters. No, there are some things which are supposed to sign. There are some which are supposed to be empower your people to work for you. Like what I told you, like what we did at the Premier Soccer League. Most of the things I'm being credited to them, but I was assigning my governors. Like a governor and the weather from Teo 1, Mr. Masimbachuwa from Manika Diamonds, Kenny Devele, and the other governors, Mr. Chatambudza Legal, they are the ones who were now responsible for the purchase of this land. I assigned them, guys work. And the only thing which I did, they looked for me. I was actually at a funeral and to ask them to come to my office was to sign the agreement of sale, which was checked by Mr. Chambudza if you look at the legal mind. Mr. Ndwere is in charge of the properties for Tier 1. So it's all on merit and credit. And if you look at the way we're doing our things, they were all based on that. And we now have an asset. The first time I'm going to see that asset is on the 19th.
So would it be?
And I'm going to be credited for that.
So would it be ideal if Kenny was VP and you were chairman, or you're not looking at that?
No, this is a democratic space, and I'm happy that people, they've got their own choices in life to make. But with what I know about that man, I worked with him at Premier Soccer League. He's a very good, very solid administrator. I would have wanted at some point in my life to work with him as my administrator at a certain point in life. But people have got their own choices, which they have to make. It's a democratic space, and we respect that. But if you want to talk of people who are solid, whom as a boss you can go and sleep if you give them an assignment, is that Kenny Ndebele.
That's an endorsement for Kenny Ndebele. But for you, we've spoken about the things you want to do. We've spoken about your ideas. What would you say? Because now we're trying to round up everything. Going into this campaign, we are rounding everything.
Yes.
What are Farai Jere's strengths? What does he bring on the table?
I was I'm in so many groups. I think almost every group. Then I was seeing some people commenting that Farai Jere is a weak candidate. They don't know who Farai Jere is. I'm very solid. I'm not a pushover. And that's what you need at that position, because of the nature of the game which you'll be looking after. Starting a fund for such an organization which is an emotion which is driven by emotions. But there's a lot of emotions. Decisions are made, and people come and say, "I'm not happy with this decision. The referee did this and that," and of course you are blamed for all that. So you need someone who's very solid, who stand by the constitution. Issues of constitutionalism are very key. That's why I'm seeing people being lied to. Another thing which our people should know, there's a lot of money that comes from FIFA, but I've never heard any country talking about that. Or what they say is, I'm going to bring money. You don't bring money to ZIFA. There's plenty of money that comes from FIFA. So your role, which will be my role, is to administer a fund which is prescribed. When I'm talking of prescription, I'm saying FIFA will tell you where they want their money to go. This should go that. They've got money for infrastructure development. It's there, which comes from FIFA. That's why they've got this autonomy to say, no, we are extent. It is because of the type of money they put there to their member associations. And I know that's where the interest of a lot of us is. Plan to be now administering that public fund. So in terms of public funds management, I've done very well. That's why I find there was peace at Premier Soccer League. And we managed to make sure that we purchased a piece of land for 250. These were the savings which were made by the Premier Soccer League. We could have blown that money one way or another. That's why I find all those governors, they've got a lot of respect for me, because they know that where a lot of people falter, where you find them short, especially when it comes to management of public funds. We have never heard that about Farai Jere at Premier Soccer League, the president of Cape United.
So I can't go without touching on this issue, because we need clarity on that, because it also determines what sort of leader you are. There was the controversy over Tanaka Shandirwa and you being seen with him. There was a document that clearly looked like something had been signed, whether it's a pre-contract or a contract. And then we had Yada saying it's our player, Dynamo saying this. What is the situation with that? Are you a person who overrides the protocol? Did you override protocol?
No, I didn't. Thank you so much for calling me, for bringing this question. Right, Yvonne, to start with, people should always use correct terms when they are talking or when they want to push their agenda. They said we unveiled, they see us unveiling Shandiro. We have never unveiled a player in a boardroom. But after signing a contract in a boardroom, people shake hands. Then the player decided, of course, he was excited. You saw even on his birthday, he sent in a cake with Dynamos and Cape United. The player then decided to send the pictures of us shaking hands with him in my boardroom. It was in my boardroom, to social media. And I started seeing a backlash, yes, from then Yada wrote a letter, and also Dynamos. Rightly so, Dynamos were not supposed to write anything, but they did, which is fine. But you never saw me commenting. Do you know what I did at that point? Because when the player came to sign a contract, he brought in a contract which is expiring from Dynamos on the 31st of December. I'm a follower of the law. I'm supposed to negotiate with that player 6 months prior, but this one, it had actually reached its tail end. It's finishing. He brought in a contract which is expiring from Yada. So when I saw this story coming out in the papers, do you know what I did? What I did is I then called my governor, who is our legal minds at the Premier Soccer League, Mr. Chatambudza. I said, no, what is this I'm seeing in the media? We have got a relationship, and this was my expectation, but people obviously react. Then we had now we reached a common position. He was in South Africa, and he said, no, Chairman, when we come, we can always meet and sit down. Then when he came, I then went to South Africa. So we met at the final, and we spoke about it. That's how issues are dealt with. You don't deal with critical issues, especially if you're the boss in the public domain. You don't do that. I called him to say, no, but this boy brought this and that. That's when he said to me, there's another contract which he signed last year, which is not with even the Premier Soccer League or with the boy. So that's where we ended, and we then agreed that, no, we are going to meet when you come back and discuss this issue. So that's how it's done. It's a distributive approach to issues, because we have got a relationship and I want it to continue. So people's expectation was that we were going to go out there and start fighting about this.
Yes,
and I even told him, if it's true that the boy has got a contract with you, I'm prepared to count my losses. I don't have a problem with that, Chairman. And then he said, no, I'm coming back. We need to sit down. So that's where we are. These things are being done in the offices, and it's not for the public.
But Mr. Jere, so as it stands, is he a Cape United player? Is he, because I assume was a pre-contract, or was it an actual contract? Because we saw in his farewell post, akaposta iminae Muripa podium when Dynamos won the Chibugu Super Cup. And then just a couple of days, he had a birthday. He posted a cake with half caps, half Dynamos. Is it done and signed, or it's still in the process?
No. The player signed a 2-year contract, a post-contract. This contract will be effective from the 1st of January, right after he had produced the 2 contracts. Remember, I've been doing contracts the rest of my life. So some of the things people were talking about on social media, I know about them and I'm a master of those things. So a due diligence was done. So the incident which you're talking about, when these guys were receiving their medals, he just rushed to me. You can actually see it's the player who rushed it to me. The player is excited about coming to Cape United. It's very clear, even the way he's doing his business, what he's posting, the cakes. But on the issue of contracts, it's something that I am going to discuss with my fellow governor at Yada for the best interest of the player.
I can tell that he was offered a lot of money. The excitement for a person coming from Dynamo.
No, we paid him.
You think it's a player coming from somewhere far coming to Harare. But it's been exciting having you on the show and getting an insight. Obviously, I know Caps United supporters, you'd have wanted me to focus more on his journey at Caps United. But we are in election season. We want to know what sort of candidates are at play. Yes, we don't vote, but it's okay for us to be able to understand and realize what sort of people want to lead football in the next coming years. So, this interview, we're doing it before. I have no idea if one day we will be able to do an interview if you are elected, if you're put in power. I'm putting you on the spot. Can you make a promise that you'll come back here exclusively and have a chat with us?
Yvonne, remember, I told you about the key stakeholders, and the media is one of them. You don't want your media people to speculate. I've been on the program, on the ball with CNN, Charles Mabika. If you invite me, or if any media house invite me, I'm free to come, because this is the field which we are in. It's a public product. It's a public good. Our people, they need to know information. You don't need to leave room for speculation. And more so, if I become the ZIFA president, there's a lot of things that you need to clarify to people, drawing lines. People should know your mandate. Where do you end? Because in presidents being blamed for something which doesn't fall under their jury. So it's something that we then need to be clarifying to people, interacting. It actually makes the whole thing very exciting. If you invite me, you invited me, it was just a phone call. So why not? When I become the president, if you invite me, it will be just a phone call, like what you did here. Like what Charles Mabika always do on the ball. We still have got our own other interview. 5 p.m. I'm going to be on ZBC. They also booked me for a 5 p.m. That is for the radio and TV again. So you should always make yourself available for media as a key stakeholder. You don't want them to carry stories based on speculation. Even if my brother Sukumbuzo called me in Bulawayo, we traveled together the 2017 journey. We played a very important role for us to get to the group stage. I will explain to you the role which he played. If he calls me to come to Bulawayo, I can get onto the plane and go to Bulawayo and talk to him, because it's a space where you don't need to leave speculation. People should, based on facts, if they are to critique, it's up to them to then take that route. We are very free to be called by anyone, anytime, as long as we have got time. We agree, we have got appointments, we have got other roles which are playing in business, in parliament, and this is also another responsibility at Cape United. So once we agree, we always come, like what we have done today. Thank you.
Take his word for it, because I think Caps United supporters will tell you that he goes to the Caps United meetings. So I hope you got an insight, because these shows are not just to bring the guests, it's for you to get an insight into what the future looks like, who will be the candidate you would prefer. Until the next time, we bring you another sporting personality, and hopefully it's another ZIFA presidential candidate. Goodbye. Make sure that you continue to follow me on social media. Yvonne Mangunda is the handle on all platforms. Goodbye.